Hello, folks, and welcome to the Four Lads Had a Dream Sunday show. A bit of an unusual cast this week, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it nonetheless. I'm your host tonight, Andrew Stewart, and with me, Mark. How are you, buddy?
A lot better than what I was on Wednesday night after today. Good showing. So, no, I'm all good, buddy. Thank you.
Certainly feeling the same as you, bud. Sorry for being a wee bit late, folks. We seen 8 o'clock and we thought it would be +7 added minutes, so we thought we'd just leave it that extra time. But we'll move on from that conversation. Hope you all had a good day, Bears, in the internet land. I can see your comments flying in. Get them in. We'll have a chat about them as the night goes on. What a day! I am tired, Mark. It was I felt like a very long day, but a very rewarding day. At the end of it, where we're sitting now, we'll start with our usual squad selection. We'll start with we went with Butland in goal, Tur Romans, Manny Fernandez, John Suter, Dujon Sterling, Nikola Raskan, Tochi Chukwani, Mikey Moore, Andreas Scoff Olsen, Ryan Nadiri, and Yusuf Chermiti. First of all, I mean, the two up top, Mark, this is without the benefit of hindsight from sitting where we are at the moment. Yusuf and Ryan, I thought the two of them, with the way it was going to be, we're going to see the two up top. We're going to see like a 4-4-2. Is there going to be a bit of dropping in behind the way that, if you think back to Danilo with Chermiti, he would maybe drop in a wee bit more to the midfield? What was your thoughts with the two of them being up top?
I think it's going to be a straight 4-4-2, just given how both of them play. Chermiti could probably go into 10, but I thought it was going to be 4-4-2. Pretty straightforward, to be fair. I was actually surprised with Chermiti starting after Wednesday, if I'm honest. I think my team was pretty similar, apart from Ant-Man was going to play on the left, Moore's a 10, and Chermiti would have dropped out. But look at sort of how that pulled off, to be fair, given Chermiti's performance today. I quite liked it in the sense that it was pretty clear he was wanting to go for it from the off. I think it's nowadays, in terms of formations, etc., and it's not often that we see an old-fashioned 4-4-2. So, in all fairness, I think when Nadir and Chermiti, you've got that physical presence up there. You know, you can have that out ball. Chermiti can run the channels. You know, there's different options. And I think with the likes of Moore and Scove Olsen playing off them, then you've got that sort of link up if obviously they're holding up. But all in all, I think, you know, when I first seen it, I was surprised with Chermiti after obviously how he played on Wednesday. But in all fairness, and how the result panned out, manager's got it spot on.
Yeah, I think the manager certainly had his critics from the selection and changes within the game from the Motherwell game, but I think he'll be happy to rack up any sort of praise he gets tonight from that. Personally, to Romans, happy to see him again. It's very, very early into his Rangers career, Mark, but every time I see him in the blue shirt, I'm impressed. I think he's sneaky fast. He's comfortable on the ball, happy to get forward, direct. I think there's a nice partnership growing with him and Mikey Moore. Obviously with Mikey's timeline at the club, and we'll see what happens with that come the end of the season. But those two working together seem to have a kind of quick connection, and we've seen that in one of the build up to the first goal.
Yeah, I think in terms of Romans coming in, that was a no-brainer, and I think he was clearly missed on Wednesday in terms of his outlet, his ball into the box. I said his presence as well, not only defensively but actually in the final third. And you know, I think it was a chance he created in the second half. How he's bullied the fullback with Hearts, and he's managed to get that ball in. I think he's exceptional. I think you're right. It's early days for him, but I think with what he's shown so far, I think we've got a player there. I think one that will do very, very well for us. I think it's not just a matter of he's got like one dimension. I think he's got many parts to his game where I said he's linking up with Ant-Man before, he's linking up with Moore very well. You know, I mean, even his ball into strikers in the middle of the park. He's very fluid in his play. And I've been very, very impressed with him so far. And I think it was vital that he definitely came back in the starting 11, especially after being out on Wednesday. I think it was clear that his presence was definitely missed at Motherwell.
One exclusion from the squad, he went onto the bench after what I thought was a positive game given the circumstance. Mohamed Diamandi for Park, I thought he could have held his head up high. I thought his work rate and his effort were solid. He made it to the bench today. I suppose that's just one of these kind of, to get the two up top, you're going to need to sacrifice somewhere, and you're kind of hoping with Tochi and Nico you can maybe afford to lose your man in the midfield there. But even then, I think when Dio came on in the game, he had the impact as he usually does.
Yeah, I think he's went with Raskin just solely to keep that middle two pretty solid. I think Dio, to be fair, I think he's been excellent since Danny Rose came in. And I think you're right in terms of Wednesday, he didn't do anything wrong, but I just think that Chukwueze in particular has got that physical presence, and Dio, to be fair, will sit and hold. And for me, I just think it was just more a discipline in that position more than anything else why Raskin was going to start today. But it wasn't anything personal against Dio. It was more so just, I think, given winning that battle in the middle of the park, I think you just need to have a bit of discipline in there. And Dio can sometimes go a little bit wandering, which isn't a bad thing because he can get us up the pitch, etc. But I feel just today we needed two in there that would just be solid, focus on the job, and to be fair to him, I thought, in all fairness to Raskin, I didn't actually think he started well. He actually gave the ball away a couple of times, and I think that led up to the goal, which we'll get into. But he didn't start great, but as the game went on, he definitely got better and had a bit more presence in there. But as you said, I think it was one that Dio could have started, but for me, I think he just wanted a bit of discipline in that in the middle of the park, given Hearts' presence in their midfield.
Right, well, we'll couple in the two Hearts goals together, so we can get on to talk about the Rangers goals and just hit that in full forward steam. The annoying thing with the goals we conceded, Mark, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about that Hearts kind of forward line, with Braga, Casares, Shanklin before he obviously got injured. And the annoying thing, the goals we gave away, is it felt like they didn't need to work for them. They felt like the goals came from our own doing, especially with the first one. Nico and Manny just not been on the same wavelength, and obviously Leonard gets the goal. It's a good strike. I mean, Butler's kind of left stranded, but especially with the second goal, when the first kind of knockdown comes from us just completely, caught ball watching, not being organised at all. It was frustrating, the goals we conceded, because it felt like we gave them in for free almost.
I think the first one, for me, Fernandez is at fault. I think just what I referenced there in terms of Nico giving the ball away, he didn't want it, and I don't blame him in terms of he's not looking for the ball there. Hearts have got three boys up the pitch. I think Fernandez, when he gets the ball, he takes like 2-3 touches, plays a pass. Rico's not looking for that ball, and he's obviously giving it that space, and Hearts obviously counter. And to be fair, Leonard has finished it well, but just an error on our part, to be fair. And at that point, you get the concerns that Hearts are then going to go on, not so much go on and win the game, but then they just got the momentum given the start of the game itself. But it's a poor goal to lose in terms of us actually in control of possession and giving it away as cheaply as we did. In terms of the second one, we switch off in terms of the ball coming up, but then I think for me, Suter's got to do better. Braga's done, to be fair, it's an excellent header from Braga. However, I think Suter's the wrong side, and Braga's used his body well, but if Suter's obviously goal side to him, and Suter can also make a better challenge and put him off. But in all fairness to Braga, it's an excellent header, but I just feel Suter probably should just be the other side of him, given Braga's obviously in front and obviously for the goal. But both poor goals from our point of view, but the first one, I think, just the manner of it, was just absolutely criminal. And in all fairness to Fernandez, I've been quite sung his praises for a while now, but I think tonight in that first half in particular, I thought his distribution was pretty poor, and when he was on the ball, I think he held on it for far too long, taking 3-4 touches too often, and then our sort of passage of play would sort of break down. And I know he's naturally right-footed, so it's easy for him to go back in the pitch. Whereas obviously there's a left side centre half there doing open up and go out to the left. But I think there were so many times in the first half in particular, Romans was free, just that out ball, when we just didn't use it, we tended to go back into the pitch where it was a bit crowded and putting ourselves under unnecessary pressure. But I thought Fernandez in that first half in particular, like I said, I've been very impressed with him for a number of weeks, but I feel that first half he was pretty poor, especially on the ball, and his distribution could have been a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be scrutinised as they always are, and they should be. We'll obviously have some video to review, and they'll go through it as a team in the coming days when they're back in the training ground. Rangers, especially from the goal in the 16th minute with the Leonard strike, that was key that we had to not let the heads drop, and I don't think we did. I think we reacted in the right manner. Obviously, we get a goal in the 19th minute, Michael Steinwender own goal as it goes down, as it was given to Nadiri in the stadium. Steinwender, it's a difficult start. He came on in 12 minutes and gives an own goal before the 20th minute. But I mean, as I said, Romans and Moore in the build up, the wee give and go. At first, I thought the Moore give back was a wee bit overhit, but Romans with that pace got to it for the byline, and it's a lovely floated cross. I have to say, I thought it was just that perfect left foot. Um, and we had a couple of really good attempts. I think Chermiti's up for the first one. Keeper makes a brilliant save, palming it away. Then Moore kind of catches it on the volley that comes off the bar, and then there's not very much more Steinwender can do. He's under pressure from the Deary, and he slices it into the roof of the net. And from there, the energy was back. It was the heads were straight back up. We were right back into attack mode. We were hunting as the manager wants us to do. I think the reaction, obviously, we went behind twice, showed our character that the manager keeps telling us about. Um, and it's nice and refreshing to hear your manager say something and it not be like he's seeing a completely different game to you, as we've seen this season. When the manager says we're hunting the ball and we've got that big personality in the team, you're seeing it on the park, Mark, and that's I can't tell you how happy I am when you've seen how bad some of the games were this season.
I think in terms of the moment, I thought the build-up play was pretty good. Like you said, the 1-2 with Moore and Romans getting on the end of it. He's done it a number of times already, but putting in decent balls into the right areas. Chermiti does well, actually, challenge that, and the goalie makes a good save. Also, Moore, as you said, hits the bar, and then I think for me it's Nadira that makes it, given he puts I can't even pronounce the boy's name, but the Hearts boy scores his own goal like under pressure. And I think if he doesn't do that, then he's got a cleaner strike to clear it. And I think it's through Nadiri's presence and putting him under pressure that creates that actual goal, to be fair to him. And he worked hard in Nadiri. I know he didn't in terms of have too many chances, but I thought his work rate throughout was excellent. And he's starting to come into it, and he's moved from Germany, he's also finding his feet, etc. But I thought again he done really, really well. And again, one that I thought on Wednesday we could have probably done with up top, but in fairness, I think it's him. It's had a major impact on it. But it was a good move. In all fairness, I think you're talking about character, and I think it's one thing that we have questioned this team, not only this season but for a number of seasons now. In all fairness, not just to come back from once but twice in the first half in particular. And I think the fans helped with that as well. I thought listening to it on the TV, Ibrox was exceptional today. It's been a long time since we've heard a crowd like that at a home game. I thought they were definitely helped the players in particular when we did go one down. And as you said, we managed to get it back. However, going in 2-1 down, I thought the fans were brilliant and kept the players going. But that character from the players, I put it in the group chat where I thought it just can't be ignored, given I think too often, and rightly so, we've questioned players' character. Are they up for it? Are they up for that fight? You've definitely seen that today throughout, especially when we did go one down and then 2-1 down. You think the heads will go down, but however, they managed to battle back and get themselves back into it not once but twice.
Yeah, the second goal, Yusuf Chermiti on the run, he has this kind of powerful stride that when he starts, he can't be stopped, which hurts him and helps him at times. He gets a tad lucky, I have to say. Tries to go for like a cutback, ball comes back off the half defender, but if he was lucky with the ball coming back to him, the calmness to just slot that in the near post mark. Yeah, the key thing I had in my notes is you think back to the chance he misses at Fir Park when he's kind of under the pressure, the ball comes back to him, and he just gets it all wrong. Whereas today, I don't know if it's the not having the second to think about it. He just goes with the near post finish, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah, in terms of snatching, obviously the one on Wednesday, but he actually had one in the first half as well. Prior to that he's put wide, which again sometimes he just needs to work on that composure. However, he said he did get a little bit of luck with it, but in all fairness, I think his work rate and the Deary helped with that. Scove Olsen as well in the build up, and the Deary plays on through, and as he said he's tried to cut it back. I think it's Halkett has blocked it and it's came back to him. And in all fairness, he's the goalie's come out and he's just put it in that near post, and it's a tidy finish, to be fair to him, given we have been critical of him, and I think rightly so. And not just so much just on the price tag, but what's he actually offering to the team. And in all fairness to him, he kept his head there and finished it well.
Yeah, obviously with that goal, I think Sky had put on "and breathe" at half time. It was a from a neutral standpoint, anyone watching from down south would have thought it's a great advert for the game. But it was not a great feeling for somebody in the stadium. It was up, it was down, it was heart was in your mouth, and you're loving life, you're losing, you're hating it. But half time, I think the message had to be calmness from the manager to the players. They have the quality. The goals they scored, I mean, the first one, the build up, the powerful run for the second one, the quality was definitely there. It was just about calmness through that kind of adversity. And from there, when we came out in the second half, I think that shone through, and we didn't really give Hearts too much. I think there was a level headedness. I thought myself as the game were on, was it going to be subs? Were we going to go potentially back to a back five after Motherwell? But I thought if he did that, Ibrox would have went livid. But he made his subs. I think the impact, I mean, as I said, Dio, I'm a big fan of his work in the last week. Ant-Man comes on again. He's been solid since coming back from his injury. As a whole, I can't say they did much wrong in the second half. I can't say they put a single foot wrong, to be perfectly honest, off the top of my head.
Started a little bit slow, first 5 minutes or so, not with Hearts creating anything, but I just thought we were a bit slow in the ball. But then I think once we got that goal, I think we started to come into it a bit better. I think there was a little bit of stoppage in play, if I remember rightly. I didn't actually take notes, so I'm just trying to go at the top of my head here. Professionalism is always on the show, but no, I thought we did in the first 5 minutes or so. We were a little bit slow, and then obviously the goal came 10 or so minutes into the second half, didn't it? And I think that definitely helped us. But you're right, the first half was just 100 mile an hour, just absolutely mental. Great viewing for the neutral, however. It was heart and mouth at some moments. However, I think for me, once we got through that 5 minute spell, we did come on to a game, and I think the goal was, it's always comes at a crucial time. But I think just for us, that first 10 minutes or so, going into the second half, and then we could sort of breathe a sigh of relief and then move on, and then get our composure back on the ball. And I think there was moments of play between Raskin and Moore in particular where we were able to get further up the pitch and playing some decent football, to be fair. But as I said, that first 5 minutes or so, I thought we were just a little bit slow coming out the traps. However, I thought we definitely picked up as the half went on.
Yep, it was 57 on the clock. Rangers got the go-ahead goal to make it 3-2. Yusuf Chermiti with a soaring leap. The still image on the Twitter feed was it needs to be viewed. I thought the cross from Scott Wilson was lovely, cushion from his weak foot, and the big man gets up. It's a superb leap, honestly. But I was down the opposite side, and it wasn't as clear. But seeing it back, cannot say any more about the big man. Gives us a lead. The reaction to the goal, the celebration from the players, he's it say a lot about the guy, but the boys seem to love Chermiti. He's got all the hugs, all the kind of handshakes and high fives you can get in the world from Nico, Manny, Nadiri. Everybody was getting involved in the celebration. I think it's clear we want nothing less than the big man to be a success.
No, I think in all fairness to the goal itself, Scott Wilson, again, I thought he'd done all right, but I think there's still more to come from him. I mean, there's moments where he's giving the ball away and that, but you know what, the goal itself, and that's why his weaker foot as well. He's pinged it with his right foot, and to be fair to Chermiti, he's leaped like a salmon there, and absolute bullet header. Goalie's got absolutely no chance. And I think it's interesting when you're saying there about the players celebrating with him. I think that's one thing Danny Rule has worked quite hard on in terms of that togetherness with the squad. I think you can see that when there is goals being celebrated, moments throughout the match where the players have got each other's back. And it's good to see. And I think that's one thing, if we are being serious with this title challenge, which we are definitely in, I mean, we need the squad to be together and all as one. And I think it's one thing Danny Rule's definitely invested his time in, and you can definitely see the impact, especially when he says when like there's goals going in and you can see the togetherness there. But in all fairness to him, it was a brilliant goal. And as I said, one Scott Wilson done okay, but his ball into the box was exceptional, and to be fair to Chermiti, he's finished it well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought Scott Wilson didn't have as big an impact in the game throughout the 90, but you could see the quality he does have with that ball, as I said, on the weak foot. And we go ahead. From there, you're getting into the kind of, not quite the dying embers, but close to it. And Hearts are getting some of the ball. You start to see some tired legs in the blue shirts, but you're just hoping there's that energy, that second one to get you over the line. We make the sub. Jerry Casama comes on. Mark, I mean, my thoughts on Casama post Fir Park during the week was I was disappointed. I thought he looked, I hate to say the word, but I thought he looked a bit lazy. I thought his reaction wasn't brilliant, and I wanted a lot from him. If he was coming on, he had to be working hard, and he's made me eat my words with he gets the ball away, he drives up the park, and he's got that composure to keep going until he finds the right ball, and he finds Yusuf again, who gets his hat trick. But Gassama, I think, as it's been said in here, especially with Ant-Man as well, if that's the level of impact sub you've got, then the depth is really here now. Someone that had been quality throughout the season, asking for him to come off the bench after Wednesday, and he produces that, you're certainly feeling a lot calmer about the depth you've got. But I loved on Gassama's impact and that run, because it was that's the Gassama you want to see for 90 minutes, week in, week out.
Yeah, I think in terms of Wednesday, I think you're right, and I think there's been moments throughout where fans have questioned him, and you can understand why in terms of his commitment, etc. I think on Wednesday though, he is better on the left than what he is on right, but that doesn't mean say he still don't work hard for the team. But it was interesting. I was actually looking at something earlier in terms of his impact coming off the bench. You know, you think back to the Champions League, etc. Panathinaikos. You know, he's actually scored quite a number of goals when he's actually came off the bench and assists. So he's in terms of the actual goal itself, you know, he started that in our own half, staying it for a run, beating a few boys, and then his ball over to Chermiti, who's finished it well. And I think at that point, you know, it was about 88 minutes, if I remember rightly, when we scored it. There's a spell where Hearts had quite a bit of the ball, but not really doing anything with it. And I think for me, it's just the longer that goes on, you know, the stadium obviously becomes nervous, and rightly so. And we just need to look at what happened on obviously Wednesday night there, where you see the late goal. But they had quite a bit of the ball without really doing too much, and Jack Butland didn't have too much to do. But I think the longer that goes on, then obviously they, you know, they can obviously create opportunity and create chances. But I think the timing of it, Casama himself, there's quality there. I think there's no doubt about that. I think it's just the inconsistency he's had, and he's a young lad as well. However, I think the impact he did have off the bench, I think the comment there was absolutely spot on. Like, where we've got subs who are making a difference to the game, whereas if we reference back to like 3 or so months ago, when you're looking at starting 11 and we've got some struggles on that, never mind options off the bench. Whereas now, you know, there's a number of positions now where we've got 2 players there that could have an impact from start or coming off the bench and making a difference when they come on. So I think that's also one that, in terms of the investment we've done in January, we've got some boys back for injury, which definitely makes a difference. But Casama, for me, there's quality there. It's just he needs to do it more on a regular basis. But the goal itself, fantastic work from, you know, he started from about 30, 40 yards in his own half. He's taken up and beat a number of players, taking a run, and he's laid on a plate for Chermiti. And in all fairness to Chermiti, he's took it well, crossed the goalie, 4-2, thanks very much.
Yeah, from there, when the fourth goes in, it was the massive relief, as you said. There was that kind of thinking back to Fir Park, and although Hearts did have the ball, we didn't really do too much with it. So you are just kind of hoping for that last burst to get you over the line, and for that goal to go in, you could feel the relief. The stadium was rocking. I think again, we mentioned the celebration beforehand, but Danny Rule making his way down the sideline there. For someone that tries to be quite calm and you know, preaches that kind of coolness and and taking it a game at a time, you could see the explosion of joy from him. And I think that's all I can ask of my manager, is that he feels the same way that we do in the stands, and that's exactly what happened.
It gave me a Mourinho flashback when he was a Porto manager at Old Trafford. I was just hoping he'd done the knee slide to follow up, but no, in all fairness, I think one with Danny Rule, and you know, there was a lot of questions asked after Wednesday, and rightly so, I think, given a number of selections and decisions that were made. But there's one thing about Danny Rule, you know, he loves this club, and you know, you can see that he lives and breathes it. I mean, he's been involved in a number of things with the supporters. I mean, I think he would have took that quite hard on Wednesday, and I think he's realised with some of the language and that he's used as well, which I don't think he was meaning to go. I can understand what he's trying to say, but at the same time, we're Rangers here and we want to win every game, and we focus on the challenges ahead in front of us, not a matter of focusing, 2, 3, 4 games down the line. So I think he's learned from that, and I think it's one that when that fourth one's went in, fair play to him, because I think it was one that you said a sigh of relief in the ground, and in all fairness, the Wednesday was a tough one to take, and not so much drawn with Motherwell, because I think Motherwell are a decent side. You need to see the run that they've been on, this season, sitting in fourth and done relatively well. I think it's just a manner and how we conducted ourselves and some of the things that he influenced in that game in terms of his starting lineup, etc. But Danny Van for me has done exceptionally well from the days came into the building, and I referenced before in terms of the team spirit and that you can definitely see that. There's a lot of things that he's worked on to ensure that we're in the position we're in, and a massive credit goes to him for all the work that he's done since he came in.
Yeah, we mentioned the reaction to the goal and the atmosphere you said earlier. It really felt like that first kind of real big atmosphere, that real big game atmosphere that we've kind of been missing, especially with the European games being dead rubbers, essentially, given how poor we had been at the start of that campaign. It's the first time in a long time it felt like it was, the stadium was at as advertised level of raucous and loud and getting behind the team, and I think it had to be there because Wednesday they said we were out of it. Today we say we're back in it. It's just going to get more exciting, I think. Boydie said on Sky, from here it's only going to continue up and on from this level. And if this is what it's going to be like week in, week out, with the Ibrox being just as it was today, then I'm all for it. For your final word on the result and what it means today.
Yeah, I think in terms of the crowd, in all fairness, there's been questions with that, but I think the product on the park's been shit as well. So I can understand why there's been, why Ibrox has been how it's been. In all fairness, it's a two-way process for me, and the players have obviously got to give as well as the fans. And credit to them today. I thought they were exceptional, especially when we did go behind. They're still behind the team, keeping us going. We got our rewards in the end with obviously a 4-2 result. In terms of where we are, yeah, Wednesday was a bit of a disappointment, but I think one that I still think there'll be twists and turns between now and May as well. I don't think it's a matter of there's a clear winner here. I think we'll drop points. There's no doubt about it. And I think so will Celtic and so will Hearts between now and May. I think it's one who can go on a run and sustain a 4-5 run winning game. We've got 11 games left. So 12 games left. I think it's 12 now, yeah. I think if you're going to a 5-1 game run, then you've got a chance. But the comment's absolutely spot on. We've just got to take it a game at a time. Playing Levy, which is one of, we look at how we got on the last time we played there. It was a late Max Aaron's goal that managed to get the 3 points, but they'll be up for it. They're in a relegation battle. They're fighting for their lives. Got a point yesterday at Dundee, and they'll be scraping for everything possible. But I think if we conduct ourselves the way we have done, like we did today, then I think we'll be fine. However, I think the last 2 away games in particular, Hibs and Motherwell, we've been quite disappointed and just not looking our usual selves. So we have to be up for that right for the off and see how it takes us. But as I said, I think between now and May, play a twist and turns, but start with 3 points against Levy, and then we got the bigger one on the start of March.
Yeah, as you said, and Danny says that every game, regardless of who it is or when we play next, it is a game at a time. Levy, obviously, next up away from home, played Levy at Ibrox and 1-2-1, played Levy at Levy and 1-2-1. Both games, Dio scored a 78th minute goal, which would have been the winner at Ibrox, and obviously, as you said, Max Aaron's 90+4 at Levy. The strangest of days, that away game at Levy with a late winner and yet anger towards the manager, which I don't think I'll ever see again, like we did that day. But I think that tells you how tight it can be when Levy play the way Levy usually do. Obviously, there's been a bit of change of the guard in some aspects over there, but we just need to focus on ourselves. And I think, as we've said, that has to be the message from now until the day that the trophy is handed out, wherever it is handed out, that we just need to do our jobs. A lot of things being said about other games today, but regardless of that, if we can continue to do what we are supposed to do, then there's nothing really you can say about that. It just needs to be background noise that we need to focus on what we're doing, Mark. It's the message that the manager continues to preach, and it's a message that we continue to preach as supporters.
Yeah, I think one thing that's going to help as well is the one game a week now. We've not got that, midweek with European or league action. I think it's good that now that get that time in the training park as well, and embed the new boys who've been here for a number of weeks now. We can get that time in the training pitch. I think it'd be good to put that to good use as well in terms of the style that Danny always wanted to play. I think we've seen parts of that at Kilmarnock when we played at Ibrox a week or so ago. I think we've seen parts of that pattern he played today as well. I think it's just more so one that we can just find that rhythm, and if there is some knocks etc. after today's game, then we've got a little bit of time instead of just like games on a Tuesday, Wednesday or a Thursday, like we've had done on prior weeks and months. So no, I'm excited for it. As I said, disappointed Wednesday, however, and we bounced back brilliantly today, and hats off to Danny Rule and the players, because it's easy for us to feel sorry for ourselves. Hearts come in and take a win, and then that's us. It's a mountain climb from there. But we've kept ourselves in it. And like I said, the next week's a massive game at Livy, and it won't be straightforward. And then we've got a little run from there. So, as I said, we'll just take it one game at a time. I think you're spot on, and Danny Rule needs to focus on that. And as I said, as a fan base, that's all we can do just now is focus on the next challenge and see where it takes us. But for me, it's going to be an exciting run between now and May, and let's bring it on.
Definitely. Before we just wrap up, I think there's comments about can you give thoughts on Mikey Moore. I think we talked about Diamandi today. I think we talked about Romas today, Raskin, Chigwani. Then stadium man of the match was Decisive Chermiti, but for the first time in a while, it felt like sevens across the board at least. I think every player did their job today. Chermiti, as I said, in stadium man of the match. Would you agree with that? Would you give it to anybody else? Minus the hat trick,
Chermiti for the goals, yes. But I think they've got a point there in terms of the comment there on Mikey Moore. And I think Mikey Moore for a number of weeks now, I don't think he was as influential in the Motherwell game, but I think that's where he was playing more so, and how we were generally on the ball. Moore was outstanding. I think his runs, and the positions he gets himself into, the way he goes by a player as well, and his awareness of what's round about. I think he's an exceptional talent. It's a shame we've only got him for the season, but he will go into bigger and better things. There's definitely a talent there, and one that I think for a number of weeks now, albeit the Motherwell game, he's been one of our best players and definitely having a major impact. But there's definitely a talent in that boy, and he's exciting to watch.
Definitely, as you said, he'll go far in the game. Whether we can get him back next season, who knows? A lot of moving around at Tottenham, as there seems to always be. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I'm sure, with that one. But, yeah, more positive again. I think, as I said, everyone in the team today did their job, can hold their head up high. But, again, just another day at the office. We'll wrap up there. Thank you for joining us. Just a two-person show tonight, so we could continue to go on all night, but the main thing is I want you to go and enjoy the rest of your weekend, enjoy the Rangers victory like we'll be doing. What a game, what a club. It was a game that you'll see the highlights for years to come, as it had everything from a neutral's point of view, goals, tackles, the atmosphere was buzzing. Just what a game altogether. But yep, we'll wrap it up there. Mark, thank you for joining me tonight, buddy.
No, thanks for having me. It's good to end the weekend. With 3 points, and we're still in this title race. So happy days.
Definitely happy days. On to the next one. Thank you everyone joining in the comments. We tried to get as many up as we could. If you enjoy the stuff and the podcast produces, drop a like in the video, drop a wee subscribe. If you want to become a member of the channel, you have this lovely QR code up on the screen. If you scan that, you can become a channel member. You get some lovely stickers, some extra content. But of course, if as I said, if you don't want to do that, a subscription, just pressing the subscribe button does us a world of good as well. But yep, thank you as always. We'll see you next week on the channel with more content. Usual show will be back on Monday evening, as far as I'm aware. So until next time, folks, have a lovely evening, and we are the people.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.